Sakwalenga bajereci, awo sing me kubago. Sakwalenga bajereci.
Thank you very much, Anu. That was very, very, very interesting. I wish the information wouldn't end. Honestly, I'm always looking forward to hearing your thoughts and stories about the history of African instruments. That was why I was saying that you're always rounded about the information about these instruments. But thank you again, and very interesting points you made and mentioned, especially about the possibility of ethnic groups in Sahel that were transported to the Northern Africa or Middle Eastern Africa that created a new religion or culture, the Nawa religion, borrowing an idea from this instruments that induces trance among cultures that I will say here that they went there and then changed the instruments and built something with things around them to also have a feel of what the of exactly the same culture that they had before they left their homeland. That's a very interesting point. I honestly I didn't really think to that extent. Really, I already have an idea that the black Moroccans who are the major participants of this now music came from has a root in Western Africa, but then linking it with the culture of the Goje, the significance of the Goje among these ethnic groups, and linking it to what we see in now music now, it's is very very interesting. And also what you mentioned about the Buri culture. If you remember when we spoke about the Gome instruments, you made mention of a point where how did this Gome become prominent among the Hausas? Was it part of the ensemble in the pre-Islamic culture that was very, very, very popular in Osalan, the Bori religion, the Bori music that had a lot of trance music and animism, I would say. I made mention of a melodic instrument that accompanied this music, but I wasn't so sure whether it's the Grumi or is it the Goje instruments. But now I think you've cleared that up for us. Now we know the melodic instrument and also mentioning about the calabash drum that was part of the ensemble then, and here talking about the calabash drum that is normally paired with the Goje instrument also. So I think that clears up that cloud of confusion that we had about the melodic instruments for the Bori music. And also, I see the similarity within between this Goje music and its significance among the Hausas and how it's being used among the Yorubas in Sakara music, which is also a praise song kind of. When you come to the Hausas, you see the significance of this instrument in the real chords that it serves as an instrument that accompanies oral stories and praise singing for royalty and patrons also. So I think that's a very detailed explanation of the history of this beautiful instrument and also touching on the significance. So thank you so much, Anu, again. Although there's a part of your information that I really would love to hear more about, and I would love to hear what Emmanuel thinks of that. You made me mention about the origin of the violin. Mentioning the violin didn't come from Europe actually. Did the Goji copy the violin, or is it the other way around? Did the violin copy the Goji? Because some school of thoughts, like you mentioned, said the Goji existed before the European violin. So, can you shed more light on that for us, Emmanuel?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kosi. And what a wonderful insight, Anu, on the history of Goje. Thank you for that deep dive. Coming into this meeting, I didn't really know. I had a very myopic viewpoint about Goje and always thought it was an Hausa music instrument. But listening to you, it has expanded my view on this instrument, and I now see really the close relationship it has with all the instruments that you mentioned, including the instruments used in our music in Morocco. And to answer your question directly, Kosi, I think based on the direction of travel that we've seen generally in human migration, there is being south to north. So it's most probable that it would come from. First of all, violin is a much more recent instrument, which is, as you can see, the Goje instrument is made from very rudimentary natural sources, animal skins and wood, the calabash itself, and all that. So these are all things that you can find in your native environment that humans have used for millions of years before the invention of the newer instruments that, the elements that are now used to make violins. I would say definitely, no doubt about that. The Goje predates the violin, but whether it came from Nigeria or it came from the Mali from Mali, that's a very tricky one, I know, because uh, fortunately for us, the Malians were the first people to really document history and things, and they wrote books, they had books, but unlike the rest of us, and also due to the burning of historical documentations by the Islamic Caliphate when they took over northern Nigeria, it's really hard to say where this instrument would have come from. But one thing we know also is that the Songhai Empire extended all the way to Niger Republic and even to some parts of northern Nigeria, and so there was trade, and there's still up to date a lot of trade ongoing between northern Nigeria, Niger, Chad, all the way to northern Ghana, to northern Senegal, as well as Mali. So there's still a lot of trade along that route, and it's easy to see how these things can travel very quickly. But yeah, whether it comes from Nigeria, the Hausa people, but also the Hausa people of Nigeria, the Hausa people are not just in Nigeria; they spread really across most of the northern West African states, and you'll find them in Ghana. I think you find some of them in Benin Republic and Togo as well, in northern parts, and as you find Hausa people all the way to Algeria, southern Algeria. So I would think that it probably came from northern Nigeria, but that's a far shot, but was first documented in Mali, and definitely predates the violin. And the violin is, I would say, it's an innovation on top of what basic violin instrument provides. And it does have also a very striking similarity to what's the South African instrument we studied last time that had a similar build, but
Ohadi.
was built to fit the female breast. Yeah.
Ohadi.
Yeah, we had it. Yes. But then this time around, it's the resonator on this is not made to face the human body, but facing outwards. So there's also, because if you looked at, there's also a possibility that it must have come from that axis of Africa, but I don't know. It's all open questions. I would really love to hear what people who have better information would say about this in our comment section.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emmanuel. That's a very, very interesting thought. And, it's always hard because of, the burning of some part of our history during the takeover of the Islamic Caliphate in northern Nigeria. It's difficult to pinpoint where this instrument originated from. And also, from the documents that I've seen about this instrument, it also mentions that it predates the violin. Another interesting point that I mentioned was the Moors, which are like a mix of the Berber people and also the Arab people. I think I know they played a very big role in development of Africa, also in some way Europe. So I know, like like you mentioned, civilization traveled from south to north, and it's suggested that the Moors took some aspects of the African culture, the African and Arabian culture to Europe. For example, architecture. For example, through archaeological stories and also music. So it's been suggested that this was how this instrument was introduced to Europe, and the Moors brought to Europe around, I don't know, I think 7th century or so, through to the 14th or 15th century. And like you said, the violin is like a recent instrument, maybe not so recent, but then I think maybe around the 16th century was when the violin was created first. So I think I agree with you that the instrument predates the violin. So I'm guessing that we can conclude that the violin copied the Goje instrument. Thank you very much. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that before we move on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel and Kosi. As in the way Emmanuel was just describing the movements, I was like just picturing it in my mind and drawing the African map as I was as it was discussed, mentioning it. So I just one sentence to it as regards the more, because just adding more to what you said, because the more people are from Mauritania, and they are also along that on Africa that we see blending into the Malian Empire. So there's a very high chance that um, they actually took this fiddle into Europe during the Al-Andalus era, which they migrated into the heart of Europe. Though they used to be found at the peninsula, that's the Spain, the Portugal, where that bridge between Africa and Europe is. So it's possible that they, while migrating, they took that into Europe, and then that evolved over time into what we now have as the modern day violin. So it's possible. Thank you.
Sakwalenga bajereci, awo sing me kugbago. Sakwalenga bajereci, sakwalenga bajereci, awo sakwalenga bajereci, awo sing me kugbago.